I think this might be my favorite show of the year. And not just because it is probably the last show of the year. I love taking viewer feedback, for better or for worse. For example, last week I got a viewer email that I didn't address on air, but somebody sent their feedback to me and I responded. The feedback was in my interview with Tom Harris from the International Climate Science Coalition Canada last week. The viewer said I wasn't constantly looking at Tom. And there's a reason for that. You may notice that sometimes I look away from the camera, which is right in front of me. And I'll look like down here or over here. And the reason for that is that I work in my home studio. I don't have anybody who helps me with the show except for editing after the fact. I chase my own guests. I do my own recording. I check my own audio levels. I make sure that we're properly connected. And so I act as my own producer. And so sometimes if I'm looking away from my guest, I am indeed always paying attention to them because I have a little earpiece that sits in my ear so that I can hear every little word they're saying. But I am not always looking at them because I'm looking to make sure that my recording isn't just going to hell in a handbasket. Sometimes when the internet connection is a little weak, I will be sort of cautiously looking at other things to make sure that things have not completely fallen apart. So if you are watching and I am with a guest, I am making sure that what my guest is saying is able to be heard by you. And so that's why sometimes I'm looking away. But that I would not have been able to answer that question if I didn't take viewer feedback and welcome viewer feedback, which is why at the end of every show, I give out my email address, Sheila@rebelnews.com. Let me know what you thought about the show because without you, there's no show. We don't rely on a sugar daddy named Justin Trudeau propping us up with other people's money. I mean, if I wanted to live like that, I'd work for the mainstream media, but I don't. I work really for you. I try to do the news for normal people. All that is to say, a couple of weeks ago, we put out a call for your letters to rebels. So the team in the Toronto studio took receipt of your letters, put them in a PDF, emailed them to me. I printed them out, didn't look at them. So I'm flying blind here. I gave the PDF printout to my teenage daughters who snipped them up and then put them in a stocking and put them on my desk. So I'm going to just pull them out and read your letters to me. So I don't know. Let's get to it, shall we? Again, like I said, I'm flying blind. I'm reading these as you're reading them. Okay, the first letter to Sheila comes from Daryl Burt Elliott. 3 first names. You know who else has 3 first names? Serial killers. Now, I'm not saying that you're a serial killer. I just noticed that. Anyways, Daryl Burt Elliott says, I've watched Rebel News for some time now, and you don't seem to enter the fray on what Trudeau and his henchmen are doing to oil and gas in Western Canada, more specific to Alberta and Saskatchewan. Why is that? Daryl Burt Elliott, sorry. Are you a regular viewer of the show? I'm not sure that you are. One of my beats at Rebel News is the destruction of the oil and gas sector, particularly in the West, at the hands of Justin Trudeau, but also globalist progressives all around the world, and for a time, 4 dark years, at the hands of our own Premier, Rachel Notley. I talk about the impact on the carbon tax, on industry, on agriculture. I documented the NDP's and the Liberals' attacks on Alberta in 2 separate books, one called The Destroyers and the next one called Stop Notley. My husband works in oil and gas. Actually, all the men in my family work in oil and gas, including my 20-something son. So not only do I report and care deeply about this issue, but it is personal to me. I'm a child of the oil patch. And so I don't take this criticism to heart, because if you watch me regularly, you know that that is one of the most important topics to me is oil and gas in Western Canada, because it is a way out for so many people out of generational poverty. This is an industry where you can make $100,000 a year plus living without having to go to university, without having to be a Laurentian elite, which is one of the reasons why the Liberals hate it so much, is because we can all of a sudden, us rubes and hicks with high school level education, with some hard work and good choices, we can all of a sudden be in their fancy socioeconomic class. They don't like it. They look down their noses at the oil patch out of classism in part. So anyway, I advise you to watch a little bit more of my work here at Rebel News. I have, people from Friends of Science on, Tom Harris from International Climate Science Coalition, Chris Sims from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. I talk about the war on oil and gas all the time, because it is not actually about the war on oil and gas. It's actually not about oil and gas at all. It's about the war on the West, on Alberta. They take away our economic engine. They take away our power in Confederation, and they try to shove us back in our place. And so, anyway, thanks for the letter. I hope you find some of the other work that I do here at Rebel News. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Oh, hey, what you just saw there is a clip from my weekly full-length show, The Gun Show. It airs on Wednesday, but this is the internet. You can watch it whenever you feel like. You just have to become a subscriber to our paywalled premium content. Just go to rebelnewsplus.com to become a member today.